Alright, let me ask you something. How many times have you walked into a restaurant and thought, I hope they're not serving something that's been sitting out for days? Well, in Jefferson County this July, that fear might have been more than just paranoia. Because here's the thing, 28 restaurants failed their health inspections, and some of the issues they faced were absolutely jaw-dropping. I'm not just talking about a few crumbs on a counter. We're talking about live roaches, expired food, and employees handling food with bare hands. And honestly, this isn't just about bad luck. It's a systemic problem that reveals how fragile our food safety net really is. Let's break this down. First, temperature control. I mean, how hard is it to keep food at 41 degrees or below? Yet, multiple places had chicken, shrimp, and cheese sitting in the danger zone, between 44 and 65 degrees. That's not just a minor oversight, that's a public health nightmare. Imagine eating a burger that's been sitting in a warm cooler for hours. Your stomach's going to be the first to protest, but the real damage could be something far worse. What makes this really interesting is how often these violations are preventable. A simple thermometer, a labeled container, a trained staff member, these are basics. And yet, places like the local and Caf di Roma were found with food temperatures way off the mark. It's like they're playing Russian roulette with your health. Then there's the pest problem. Live roaches in a seafood restaurant? That's not just gross, it's a red flag. But what's even more alarming is how many places had dead roaches on the floor or black residue in ice machines. This isn't about aesthetics, this is about contamination. I've seen enough documentaries to know that cockroaches carry pathogens that can cause everything from Salmonella to E. coli. And yet, some of these places were still open. I'm not saying they should be shut down immediately, but the fact that a restaurant like Fish Market Restaurant had live roaches crawling around? That's not a one-time mistake. That's a culture of neglect. And let's talk about the human element. Food safety training isn't optional, it's a legal requirement. But places like El Taco Loco had employees with expired training cards, and others, like Jim and Nick's Barbecue, didn't even have certified managers on site. This isn't just about laziness, it's about accountability. If you're handling food, you're handling people's lives. And yet, some of these establishments were operating with no clear policies or training records. What this really suggests is that there's a massive gap between what's required and what's actually being enforced. Are inspectors getting the resources they need? Are restaurants taking these rules seriously? Or is this just a game of hide and seek where violations are only caught when someone happens to walk in during an inspection? Now, here's a twist, some of these places did improve. Guthrie's To Go went from 84 to a 97 after a re-inspection. Brookside Town and Country went from 84 to 90. That's not just a numbers game, it's proof that change is possible. But here's the catch, these fixes didn't happen overnight. They required re-inspections, pressure from authorities, and probably some serious behind-the-scenes work. The question is, how many places are still operating under the radar with the same issues? Because if a restaurant can go from failing to passing in a month, imagine what could happen if they were given more time, or if they were never held accountable at all. And then there's the elephant in the room. Why does this happen so frequently? I mean, 28 failures in a single month? That's not just a blip. It's a pattern. What's even more disturbing is that some of these places, like Homewood Hotspot, had multiple violations, dead roaches, moldy nozzles, and food stored without date marks. And yet, they were allowed to reopen after a few re-inspections. That's not a win for public health. That's a temporary fix for a broken system. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about restaurants. It's about how we prioritize safety in everyday life. Are we willing to demand better? Or are we just going to keep eating our meals and hoping for the best? Look, I'm not saying every restaurant is a ticking time bomb. But when you see this kind of data, live pests, expired food, and untrained staff, it's a wake-up call. The next time you go out to eat, maybe check the health score. Not just because you want to be safe, but because you deserve to know that the place you're eating at isn't just another entry in a list of failures. And if you're a restaurant owner? Take this seriously. Because one bad inspection isn't the end of the world, but it could be the end of your reputation. And in a world where trust is everything, that's a price you can't afford to pay.